Chair Abney, members of the House Committee, good day. I'd like to thank Leader Chippendale, Deputy Leader Nardone, Chief of Staff Sue Stenhouse for their assistance in arranging my presence with you today. Thank you, Chair Abney, for today's invitation and for the opportunity to testify before your committee. I'm honored to be here before you. At the conclusion of my remarks, I will do my best to also answer the question that you have on the floor, if I might. My name is Jeffrey Shapiro, and I am the statewide Inspector General for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I come before you today as a proponent of independent government oversight. As a professional, I have over 34 years of public sector experience, having served in various legal, administrative, and fiscal roles on the county, state, and federal levels. I understand that the Association of Inspectors General has provided a letter in support of the concept of a state office of the Inspector General here in Rhode Island. Although I am an elected board member of the AIG and I hold their certification, I do not represent them here today. Rather, I am here in my own capacity as the Inspector General of a neighboring state to offer my perspective on the value of a statewide office of the Inspector General, as seen from the experience of Massachusetts over the past 44 years. Understanding that your vision for the office and overall goals and objectives may differ, and that what works in Massachusetts does not necessarily work here in Rhode Island. Nonetheless, several other states have successfully developed and implemented IG models, and several others join with you in working to statutorily create such an office. I will also share a bit about the structure and elements of the OIG that I lead and on my own experience serving as Inspector General. My comments are not directed at this specific proposal because, in my view, it is more important to focus on the key principles of an office of the Inspector General than on all the elements within your bill. Nonetheless, I do hope that my comments will demonstrate the value of establishing an office of the Inspector General and affirm the key principles necessary in creating a true OIG. Created by the legislature in 1980, with the first Inspector General appointed in 1981, the Massachusetts Office of the Inspector General is the first statewide Inspector General's office in the country. It is also the only statewide Inspector General's office with both state and municipal oversight responsibility. In total, the office has the oversight of roughly $120 billion in municipal and state spending and can oversee the work of about 300,000 public employees, vendors, contractors, and nonprofit leaders. Currently, the office has a budget of approximately $10 million and a staff of 90. The OIG enabling statute provides the office with a clear mandate and a means to carry it out. We can obtain information from all agencies, secretariats, constitutional offices, departments, and branches of government at the state and local levels, with the exception of our legislature. We can access records and interview individuals. We have subpoena power and can compel an interview in a private session with the IG Council authorization. The IG may open investigations proactively or in response to the more than 2,000 tips that we receive on our hotlines annually. Any outside individual or entity can make a request for us to investigate something, but short of a statutory requirement, which is rare, the IG cannot be made to investigate or not investigate something. Ultimately, the discretion regarding what we investigate resides solely with the Inspector General. The OIG has a variety of tools available to combat fraud, waste, and abuse, and we try to match the tool with our objective. For example, the OIG investigation that uncovers a fraud scheme perpetuated by individuals with nefarious intent would likely result in a criminal referral to the United States Attorney, the Attorney General, or a local district attorney. Those agencies use their independent discretion to determine if prosecution is appropriate. In instances that may not be appropriate for a criminal referral, we may seek a civil recovery of the funds that were fraudulently obtained, we may pursue repayment of funds, or we may cancel an improper contract. Our calendar year 2024 annual report will issue later this month, but at this time I can share that in 2024, we issued 10 reports, 77 public letters. These reports and letters addressed issues of poor management of public resources, made corrective recommendations, recovered or sought repayment of funds, or identified improper procurements. The OIG may also propose legislative changes, work with executive agencies to improve their controls and program integrity, as well as identify areas for improvement. Equally important, the OIG is charged with prevention. We do our prevention-focused work through the OIG Academy, our education and training division. In 2024, we offered over 100 training classes to approximately 2,000 students. We operate a public procurement technical assistance help desk that answered more than 1,200 requests for assistance last year. We regularly issue advisories that contain general recommendations to specific stakeholders on strengthening protections against fraud, waste, and abuse. As I mentioned, I am also responsible for oversight for the 351 municipalities across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Therefore, I regularly travel around our state to meet with stakeholders in their communities to better understand the challenges they are facing. In 2024, I held more than 130 meetings with federal, state, and local stakeholders. Several successful initiatives resulted from these conversations, including a legislative change to the procurement process for electric vehicles and their associated charging infrastructure, a new delivery method for our procurement certification classes, and changes to procurement practices. As detailed by the Association of Inspectors General in its principles and standards for the Office of Inspector General, an OIG should have a clear mandate, specific authority to conduct specific functions, specific enumerated powers, confidentiality, IG and staff specific qualifications, independence with regard to appointment, term, removal, and organizational placement, funding, and whistleblower protection. Inspectors General have extraordinary powers to hold government officials accountable, investigate and expose public corruption, and work with government agencies to promote efficient and cost-effective operations. As such, an Inspector General's office should be nonpartisan, independent, with the ability to follow the facts wherever they lead. An OIG must be able to operate without fear or favor. The return on investment. I look at the value or return on investment of an OIG as falling into three categories. The first being dollars and cents. In calendar year 2023, the OIG returned $1.7 million to the Commonwealth's Treasury. This was a result of criminal prosecutions and the identification of a corporate tenant delinquent in its lease of state property. As I said, our annual report, which we'll issue later this month, so I don't have final numbers for 2024 yet. However, I can say that since I testified here last May, 3 separate criminal cases for which the OIG conducted the initial investigation have been resolved with restitution orders totaling over $311,000, as well as prison time. 2 other defendants have been indicted. Together, they are alleged to have stolen more than $120,000 in public funds through fraud schemes. Additionally, the OIG reached an agreement with a state office supply vendor to refund $300,000 to state and local agencies that purchased office supplies through a state contract at incorrect prices. We issued a report with the findings of our review of a 20-plus year lease of an old department store, the Star Store in New Bedford, by the Commonwealth for the benefit of the University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth. Our investigation found that a lack of responsibility by state agencies resulted in a waste of over $4 million in public dollars by overstaying the lease, and during the 20-year lease term of millions more wasted in public funds. The report goes on for 138 pages. There's great detail, which I won't share with you today. I'm pleased that the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance for the Commonwealth has hired long-term lease managers, which was one of my many recommendations. I am hopeful that this will prevent poor management of long-term leases going forward. Additionally, an investigation stemming from a hotline tip determined that a mayor received $180,000 in longevity bonuses to which he is not entitled, and another identified up to $1.7 million in fees that were not collected by an independent state agency. That's since I was last here. The second being education, training, and prevention. Beyond the funds returned to the public coffers, our statutory mandate requires the office to look at return on investment in a broader and deeper manner to include prevention and more effectiveness by state agencies. Under my leadership, we have expanded training through the OIG Academy on public procurement, contract administration, fraud awareness, proper use and management of federal pandemic relief funds, and many other topics. The Academy also offers the Massachusetts Public Purchasing Official Designation. The MCPPO designation is a widely recognized credential indicating an individual's knowledge of Massachusetts procurement laws and best practices. In many of our 351 cities and towns, that's a required credential for the hiring of a chief procurement officer. We also have a technical support team that provides guidance on public procurement. The return on investment on our prevention efforts is more complicated to determine. How do we calculate the dollar value of a bad procurement that didn't happen because of training or access to resources and assistance? The amount of public money not misused because a town manager received one of our advisories and instituted internal controls that separate functions such as deposits, account reconciliation from payments. Lowers the cost because the procurement was conducted in a proper and transparent manner. We do measure students trained, courses taught, procurement certifications earned, technical assistance, call responses, to name a few measures. I would also note that last year, from our course registration fees, the OIG sent approximately $900,000 in earnings to the Commonwealth's general fund. Third, quality, efficiency, and integrity. Finally, in addition to our broad state and municipal authority to detect and prevent fraud, waste, and abuse, 3 of the OIG's division were created by statute and have specific oversight of the quality, efficiency, and integrity of the operations and programs of the Department of Transportation, the Executive Office of Health and Human Services, and the Massachusetts State Police. In addition to preventing and detecting fraud, waste, and abuse, these units work in partnership with their respective agencies to perform detailed reviews and evaluations of various aspects of operations, such as governance, risk management practices, internal controls, as well as monitoring policy changes and intake procedures and other such functions. Again, it is difficult to calculate how much money is not wasted because the state agency follows our recommendations in a public report and effectively manages a large contract, ensuring that the vendor delivers the services as agreed to. The impact of implementation of a secretariat-wide compliance program and chief compliance officer position based on our recommendations, or when a human service-facing agency revamps its intake process to better serve its clients based upon an OIG project or report. In conclusion, I commend you for your continued bipartisan efforts to establish an Office of the Inspector General here in the Ocean State. The establishment of a truly independent, nonpartisan, fully funded Inspector General can instill confidence and make government work better tomorrow than it did today. Mr. Chairman, with regard to the authority of a civilian Inspector General, I would simply offer a few observations. I have independent authority. I can only be removed for cause once I run the agency that I am asked to lead. I have a term specific. What we investigate is determined solely by me and no other government entity. No other state official has any ability to edit, review, preview any report, letter that we may issue. It's at my sole discretion. And while we are not an enforcement agency, so that a recommendation or a matter that we raise that isn't going to the criminal process, ultimately somebody may or may not decide they want to follow it. But I will say, as an independent agency, with the authority that we have, what we say people listen to, including both the public at large as well as the media covers extensively the work that we do. And oftentimes those that may be at a higher pay grade than I have to answer questions that they may not want to answer because of letters, reports, or matters that I put on their agenda that wasn't otherwise something they wanted to talk about. So I offer those comments to your question. And certainly, Mr. Chair, with your permission and consistent with your practices, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate you sharing the opportunity and the time. Thank you.